Hey, Podnutsians. Welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us, episode 219. This is Door Geek here, owner, operator, proprietor, whatever, of podnuts.com. Right in our notes, we have direct links to our iTunes feed, RSS feed, the category link on the WordPress instance of Podnuts. We also have a direct link to the live chat and the live feed at podnuts.com/LFTROU live. You can go there, check out the show live. I'm going to try to do better with doing live streaming for this show. We also have direct links to our voicemail, which is 707-676-3688. Also, email link podcast at linuxfortherestofus.com. Also, do not forget Think Penguin coupons. You see products on there that you like, do not hesitate. Give me a buzz, and I can give you a coupon code so you can grab some stuff there. The first thing I actually want to do on this episode is go directly to email because I'm so poor at reading emails on shows. So I want to get it out of the way. This email came in from Keith. It says, I'm not sure what your name is. What I guess is should be there. But I'm sending this email to you to thank you for your podcast. When I listen to it, I really like the way you phrase things and the time you put into detail what you're speaking about. I have to say your podcasts are the best I have listened to. Also, the care and concern that you genuinely have for humanity is refreshing. Now on to the question side. I really want to get into Linux with the eventual goal of a computer repair or both on the hardware and software side. I have average knowledge of computers, but I'm no tech. I have one thing going for me, and that is my desire to learn. And when I really get into something or want to learn, I strive for nothing but perfection. Unfortunately, I am indignant, which I know I'm saying that word wrong, and have no money or a laptop, just my iPhone 6 that I can use to learn on. So whatever courses you point me to would have to be compatible with this. I want to thank you for taking the time to read your email and for putting out your podcast. It what keeps me going through the uncertain and rough time of my life. Sincerely, Keith. Number one, Keith, thank you for contacting me because trust me, every time I get an email from somebody, it reminds me that uh, I'm not just sitting here talking to myself, and I actually am communicating with people. Um, the one big disadvantage to doing a podcast where I have a really hard time reading, typing, listening, and talking all at the same time means when I have a live chat room, I can't really be that interactive in it. Um, with email, it gives us a little bit of time to do it time delayed. So first off, Keith, thank you for taking the time to write the email. Number two, I did send you an email back. What country are you in? Because we need to get you something, a Chromebook, a laptop, even a 5, 6 year old laptop, something. We need to get you some kind of hardware. If you want to learn anything about computers, any phone of any type is not going to be enough because you need to actually practice things that you want to learn. And you cannot do it really all on a phone now. Now, if you become really educated, really experienced in doing computer type work, you can probably get away for a short burst of times with only doing things on your phone, but it's not something you can sustain with. You have to get some real hardware. So, what country are you in? The reason I ask, I believe it's technically illegal for me to send an old laptop outside of the United States of America without paying some kind of tax or fee or something to that effect. So you tell me what country you're in. If you're in the US, I can send you an old laptop. I got 2 or 3 sitting here. If you're not in the US, I can try to find somebody in your country that I know and trust, and we can get you some sort of hardware because you need some sort of hardware. Especially if you can put your phone into tethering mode. And if you have any kind of keyboard with a real screen on it, you'll be able to do a lot of things. I will say, uh, you want to get into Linux with the eventual goal of come of a come computer repair on both the hardware and software side. In reality, you don't really need to know much Linux at all to get into computer repair, hardware, or software. Especially if you're going to be working on end users type systems, it's really going to be more Windows based. Linux based is really more for servers or for digital signs, not for the actual like computer systems that businesses use to get things done on. Um, so you're probably gonna have to know the Windows stuff. But I will come back to that. There's no doubt in my mind you can learn a lot of stuff in a very short amount of time. Re re revolving around domains, email management, email migration, web server administration, domain hosting, selling domains, selling server space. Um, you can literally be just selling tutorage where you can teach people the basics of how to use email, how to get on systems. Um, the beautiful thing about computer industry is every year we have a splintering or a fracturing. There's like a fractal going on where every year there's more technical positions available in the computer field. 20, 30 years ago, you had a website administrator, and that website administrator did what today would be easily 20 plus different jobs, but we only had one job title for it. So every year there's new things coming on. The number one thing I would first ask you, and this would literally be a 20 plus questionnaire. What do you enjoy doing? What do you see yourself doing? What do you have fun doing? Do you like, having live conversations with people? Do you like sitting down with people? Do you want to educate people, or do you just want to get people to be more efficient? Do you want to help manage institutions? Do you like medical stuff? Do you know anything already about um, uh, uh, veterinary type things, restaurant type things, lawyer type things? If you already have an idea of some sorts of businesses, you can already have a leg up in supporting those businesses with hardware or software solutions. Even if you know marketing and that's about it, you can do that. If you know anything, if you know parking garages, if you know how to manage staff and payrolls, there's a whole bunch of different things that then you can add on top of it, computer hardware or the software, and then you magically have a whole field of people that you can call your customers. Um, what I would say in the beginning, what you have to do is just learn basics. Learn a lot of basics. Troubleshooting is the most important thing. You really only learn troubleshooting when you have your own real hardware. So we got to get you some kind of laptop. If you want to understand basics of coding, I would heavily suggest Python. I know on iPhones you can access course places like Udemy, Udemy, where you can look for Python courses. They are typically really cheap. But that's a kind of basic way you can at least get into the basics of computers. But you're going to definitely need some sort of hardware, so don't hesitate to contact me back. And the real like hook is, um, if you really want to get into computer repair, I'm not going to say you're talking to the wrong show, but I will say my best trait and ability is not answering a question directly, but pushing the people towards the correct answer from either friends I have or from other information that I gathered. If you really want to know computer repair, I can promise you this: there are very few places on this planet where you're going to be able to talk to more people with more experience in computer repair than if you make it to Grand Rapids, Michigan, September 20th through 22nd at TechCon Unplugged, the 2019 annual TechCon Unplugged. Um, if you need a ticket, don't worry, Keith. Come up, I'll buy you a ticket. Other people out there, if you need any assistance with the ticket or room or transportation and you really want to try to make it there, but you're having a very hard time, do not hesitate to contact me. I've had a lot of people help me throughout the years with a lot of different things. I never mind helping people back. That's just the way it should be. Tickets are actually really affordable. For a ticket to the event, it is only $199, and that includes all meals. So $200 for 2 complete days, all the meals covered. Yes, if you want something extracurricular or on the side, you gotta go buy it yourself, but that right there covers a lot of what other events don't even try to cover. We're going to have, good support, we're gonna have good talks, we're gonna have lots of people from, Mike Tech from Mike Tech show is gonna be there. Paco from Computer Business Marketing Podcast, Tech Life and Podnuts Daily, and Jeff from Podnuts, the repair podcast. I'm going to be there for support reasons. Anytime anybody there is going to need something, I'm going to do everything in my power to help them out. Whether it is run to Best Buy, get them a cable, or get them a Coke, or make sure that people know this talk is getting ready to start. I definitely encourage everybody out there, if you want to have a good time, we have about 9 months between now and then, plenty of time to prep, to plan, to build up. And again, if you want help going to this e- uh, e- uh, event, do not hesitate to let me know. Just go ahead and click the links right there in the notes, and you can send me an email at podcast@linuxfortherestofus.com. And I really don't care if Keith doesn't know my name, because that's okay. Because I'm gonna forget Keith's name because I'm really bad with names. Um, but I definitely want to see people come to the event. And unless your name is John uh, from Maven Group, Paco, or Jeff, you're gonna have to tell me your name maybe 2 or 3 times. Those guys I know, but I'm gonna probably not be great about everyone's names. It should be a very good time though. We have about 9 months before it gets started. Okay, next link we're going to talk about here. We're coming upon a pivotal time in software. And here's the real dirty secret. We're always coming upon a pivotal time. There's a whole lot of things that are always in flux and always changing. Uh, hey, Paul, nice to see you in the chat. Yes, I am growing old together. I'm pushing 50. I'm not 50. My wife made sure I understood that I can't count. I'm closer to 45. But yes, I'm definitely getting older. Um, okay, we're getting ready to come upon a pivotal time in Linux, and here's what I think can happen. We're pushing 20 years into the realm of open source. If open source was a person, it would not even be able yet to buy a alcoholic beverage inside of the state of Maryland. So it is coming of age. We've seen a lot of different things. We've had a lot of different people involved. We've had a lot of different processes come and go. We've had complete software stacks come out of nowhere and take on the world. We've had all kinds of systems come into play, both that can support open source, can support free software, and can support corporate proprietary software. But we have a lot of things happening. There's gonna be at least I think 3 links this episode uh, from Opensource.com, which is the Red Hat owned website, which is now an IBM/Red Hat owned company. I will say this was actually a decent read. I don't read a lot. I use an application on my phone called Say It, where I can send these links to my app in the phone, and then it will basically read me the web page out loud as I can read it. Makes it much easier for me to really, comprehend what's going on here. The long and the short of it is, open source is about as alive as it ever has been. The bad news is that means it's just as vulnerable in 3 to 5 years from now to suffer damage at the hands of people who would have it, bad things happen to it. Um, Open source thrives and survives from passion, not from corporations backing. Yes, there's been plenty of corporations who have helped open source. There are plenty of corporations who have helped free software. There are plenty of corporations out there who have the intent on wanting to help these kinds of services, but corporations have to first and foremost adhere to the bottom line and do what's right by the shareholders. So we cannot rely on corporations to help stand up open source. We as end users have to use our power to do that as well. So this is a good article. I definitely encourage a lot of people to read it. What I really do encourage a lot of people out there to do is after reading this, stop and say to yourself, is there something I can do to help open source software? Sometimes it's just literally helping with documentation. Sometimes it's quite literally just helping with language translations. Those kinds of things can be of a immense value to a whole lot of people. Education is really difficult, and this is what I'll say: you can become a evangelist of free software and open source software, and you will unfortunately probably make a lot of people upset in that process. What I encourage people to do is to merely talk about open source in a positive way whenever someone says they're having issues or problems and you see it as a solution. Bottom line, you cannot force somebody to do something. All you can do is try to help somebody. And if in the process of you helping them, you can proliferate open source, you can encourage the use of open source, and maybe even squeeze in a little story about the ideals of open source, then you'll be doing open source a favor. Then you'll be doing free source a big favor. So I definitely thought that was a decent article. Um, but here's where we go to next. We then go to opensource.dev. Opensource.dev. And you go there, and this is actually an unbelievably good looking site, ridiculously polished to the nth degree. Most of the words on here, when I read it, actually seem to hold pretty true with what open source is, why open source is, how it got started, where it came from, what is the legal parts of open source, what are the different licenses, um, what do you need to know in regards to it? And then it has continue the journey section where they're pushing you to other domains to where you can learn stuff. This is a Google owned domain. Okay. No company out there is perfect. There is no such thing as good. There is no such thing as evil. In everybody's storytelling, we cast ourselves as the protagonist. Okay. Every corporation out there believes they're doing the right thing and they're doing the good thing and they're fighting the good fight and they're doing what they have to do for everybody's good stuff. Okay. That's just the way it is. We as non-members of that corporation, we can cast it in whatever light we want to cast it as. Okay. Some companies make it very easy to cast them under good light. Some companies make it very easy to cast them under a bad light. Okay. But there is no absolution. Everything is a shade of gray. Okay. I'll also say, and I mentioned back to Keith's thing, he always wants to strive for perfection. It's been festering since I read that email the very first time. And what I'll say is this: it's fine to have sessions of your life, periods of your life where you will shoot for perfection, but you have to understand, everybody out there has to understand, the only way to have planned failure is to make your only goal perfection. It is unobtainable. You will just make yourself extremely dissatisfied, extremely depressed, and you'll feel like you can't get things done. It's good to try to be perfect, but you have to always remember that after you give that try, drop back to a more realistic goal of just, I want to have some manner of success. Okay. Google, to me, has been the one company that has traversed that line back and forth very well of doing things that are creepy and doing things that are beneficial for people, giving things away for free that people love and killing things that people love, taking people's information, not really giving it to other companies, doing some anonymization with it, and then giving them avenues of information to advertising and marketers. So they're not perfect. Okay. Facebook is not perfect. Apple is not perfect. They all have their own thing that they're trying to take advantage of. And for Google to just spend the time on this Opensource.dev website looks really good. And here's what I really do like. They very quickly on the web page push you off to sites, including and not limited to the FSF. I'm not I don't blindly back any organization in the world because I cannot wrap my hands around the neck of an organization and strangle them if I feel that like they're doing wrong. So I do not back organizations blindly, period. I will say the FSF has done some really good things in the past. They've also done some really stupid things in the past. But I like the fact that Google links to them right off of this, and they tell you that they are responsible for, not limited to, but they do have, their hand in Bash, Emacs, GCC, the compiler, GIMP, wget, and then they have links to other things like the Apache Foundation, Eclipse Foundation, Software Freedom Conservancy, uh, Linux Foundation, more and more and more, to where you can actually go to those places and learn about all this stuff involving open source. I am literally blown away that they are doing this. Granted, they're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I do believe that they have better intent. And this is something that we can all, see however we want. I believe, not a fact, not a truth, I believe Google at least has people working there who have some good intent behind them. And I think this is a good example of the intent. When someone asks you, what is open source? There are other places you can send them to that will probably be technically more accurate. There are definitely websites I know of, like hosted by Klaatu, from GNU World Order, where they were definitely more technically accurate about the history of free software and open source. This site is about open source and some free software. So they really are more on the open source side of things. But I think this is very well done. Bottom line, even if you are just a basic coder, you're looking into coding and website development, I definitely encourage people check out this domain, opensource.dev. Look at how clean it is. Yes, there's lots of white space, but you're never overwhelmed on the website. I like how everything's laid out. I like how the website is paced out. This is the kind of workmanship that I, as somebody who plays with code, can never get to that level ever. My stuff always looks like it's been made by, some bad code back in the mid 90s. Um, but we're again coming up on the 20-year kind of thing. This was released on March 30th, 2000 in television, and this is called Code Rush. Uh, Project Code Rush, and this is about the N- Nes- Netscape Navigator, and basically when they became Mozilla. Uh, this is about an hour long, 56 minutes long. It has everything in it. It has alcohol, it has donuts, it has disgusting looking feet, but they're not the feet you're thinking they are. They're somebody else's disgusting feet. And they have liquor, and they have blue hair, and they have a excellent top-notch, top-tier programmer, computer guy who misspells a single word and doesn't understand why stuff isn't working. So he's normal. He's like all the rest of us. Um, but Code Rush to me was a pretty eye-opening way to look at the past. This has been now nearly 20 years ago. Okay, I literally looked at some code on a server at work, and I saw the last time this thing was compiled was it was around September 15th, 1998. So literally 20 years ago was when I last compiled that code, and it's been running since then, which makes me feel good about my capabilities. But looking at this code rush reminds me of where my mind was at. Netscape Navigator was new. Okay. This was not like old. This was still like a newer technology. Firefox really didn't believe yet. And this was in the period of time when I hated Bill Gates. I would have been the guy who would have taken that cream pie and smashed it right in his face and pushed him on the ground. I did not like him so much. I will say the only constant is change. I don't feel that same way about him. I don't think he's close to as bad of a human being as I thought he was back then. I will say there's a certain amount of cutthroatness, a certain amount of mean spiritedness that I do think I was justified in thinking. Um, I had no idea what he was going to do with his money, with his wealth as he got older. He's definitely been saving people's lives. He's definitely been trying to help places around the world, not just first world, but all around the world. So I don't feel as bad about Gates at all. I still don't like Microsoft as a company. I think um, I still don't like the way that they're going. But I don't. If I saw him now, I wouldn't shove a pie in his face and knock him on the ground. I would want to sit down and talk to him because there's no doubt in my mind, really smart guy, has a lot to say and really interesting things I would think to say as well. Code Rush, Project Code Rush. I definitely encourage everybody to check this out. It was published back in 2000. It is available on YouTube. It's called Project Code Rush: The Beginning of Netscape slash Mozilla documentary. I will have a link to this in the notes in the YouTube link. I will also say I do have a Plex server up and running. So if you are either in a area of the world where you cannot access this video, do not hesitate to give me a buzz. I can either grant you access through Plex, or I can put a copy of the file on my Nextcloud server and you can download it. Really good documentary. Really interesting, I'll say, about who went in early, who dropped out early, and then now when we sit back and look, all of the changes that have taken place in the world, really eye-opening. What I want to talk about now, since we mentioned Mozilla, Chromium is going to be ubiquitous. It's going to be everywhere. Chromium code base is going to be everywhere. Chrome is already the number one browser. Now with Edge going towards it, it's going to be everywhere. So I'm giving Firefox more attention every single day of the week. And here's what I knew, but I didn't really know. This is a make use of link. What are the different versions of Firefox and which one is best for you? That doesn't just mean mobile Firefox and desktop Firefox, because here's the dirty secret. Mobile Firefox is the same code base as desktop Firefox. They use all the same plugin architecture and everything. So what they mean is there's normal, quote unquote, just Firefox. Then you have Firefox Nightly, which is like the beta. You get the newest features the quickest. But then Firefox Beta is one step down. Firefox Nightly will definitely be buggier, but you'll be on the bleeding edge. Firefox Beta will be much less crashy. You'll be in the middle. So while you watch the documentary Code Rush, this is the thing that is almost ready to be uploaded at the very end of the documentary, the Firefox Beta, really close. Firefox Developer Edition is the one that I did not know existed, and I am going to play with. It basically has built-in debugger. If you remember back in the day, we had Firebug, I believe, was the main debugger. Well, now they have a dedicated version of Firefox with the debugging tools all built into it, so it should make dev work much easier. I always enjoy playing around with web development stuff. It just, I think it keeps me a little bit mentally sharp, and I have fun just digging into code and seeing what can be done. Um, but there also is one I did not know about called Firefox Extended Support Release. Um, this would be really good for enterprises. The one thing that Firefox does not do good at is on domains when you want have a administrator maintain and control that piece of software, because Firefox always wants to go and update on its own. Well, Firefox Extended Support Release, or Firefox ESR, is something that I really do want to look at for uh, work. We don't now have, I believe, an officially supported browser. I think we are like in the middle kind of thing, because technically IE is dead. Chrome, I don't know if the organization truly trusts a browser yet, but I know the reason they were having issue with Firefox was it was hard to administrate from a distance. So I'm going to have the guys at work take a peek at that and see what they think. Um, okay. The next thing is actually a bleed over topic that comes from the Mini PC Show. Okay, the Mini PC Show is another podcast on Podnuts, heavily geared and focused towards all miniature computing needs, whether it is Raspberry Pi, Raspberry Pi Zero, um, or the other countless small computer form factor things, like this GPD XD, which looks kind of like a Game Boy, but it's not. It's actually running Android. Or you can have like a Nano Pi, which makes a Raspberry Pi Zero look gigantic. Um, but I've been running Nextcloud now on my Rock 64 uh, board with 4 gigs of RAM, full gigabit uh, NIC. I am not going to say I'm shocked with how well it's working. I will say it is working remarkably stable. Nextcloud to me is the kind of platform that I really do think can become something much, much, much greater than any one person is thinking about when I say Nextcloud. If you have no experience with Nextcloud, the best way I can say it is it's like your own personal Dropbox. Okay. It still requires some brain power to install and configure. It still requires some brain power to administrate and to have up and running clean. But I will tell you this, I do think it is in their goal to turn this into a appliance type ecosystem. They made it very clear on a recent interview on Floss Weekly that they do not want to get in the um, competition of having dedicated hardware. They want other people to do hardware. They don't want to tie themselves to a web host. If anybody wants to offer Nextcloud as a service, they're all for it. They don't want to directly dedicate themselves to any one avenue like that. They're focusing more on the software ecosystem. Okay. Now, in the beginning, I talked about jobs fracturing. Well, guess what? Software is also kind of fractured as well. We've had attempts to try to group software together in like the iTunesification of software, where you try to get a whole bunch of things into one executable package, and very limited success with that. But to me, I've seen much more of spreading of software out. This is really, I think, trying to do something different. Nextcloud, by default, is just a server that you can log in with a web browser, and you can have contacts, you can have a news feed, you can have calendaring, you can have chat, you can have video chat, and you can have file sharing. You can also have some level of document sharing with live editing, but that's just the basics. Okay, they have an app store where it really does stretch the possibilities of what you can do on this service. I have seen also they have somebody developed a Nextcloud password tool where it looks like it might actually be a self-hosted alternative to KeePassS. X or next sorry, LastPass. If that's the case, this might be the one that I really use because I don't want to use an application where I have to use copy paste to, move passwords back and forth. I do not want to use a service where I have to um independently manage the vault and manually move the vault from A to B and back and forth because every time I move it someplace, it's another vector vulnerability point to where somebody can get a copy of that and do an offline brute force a um a um um tack on it. If it's a Nextcloud solution, if it's integrated with my Nextcloud, I already own the stack, and then I'll be able to just link that. So I want to see if I can get that done. What I can see Nextcloud becoming is some sort of almost next generation ish, social like ish, platform ish kind of thing. Um, I don't know. All I know is right now it runs really damn good, is what I'm going to say. Unbelievably really good. If you have a Raspberry Pi or other like hardware out there, if you go to ownyourbits.com, I believe is the domain. I'll try to have that in the notes. You can download what's called Nextcloud Pi, Nextcloud Pi, which is configured specifically to run on lesser hardware. Of course, if you want the full blown, you just go to nextcloud.com, download the server, put it in a VM on your supercomputer like hardware, and it should work just fine. Here comes two more Red Hat links from Opensource.com. This is another application that I came really close to playing with, partially because I keep getting the damn name wrong of one piece of software. Okay, Sandstorm. If you go to sandstorm.io, I'd rather just go to sandstorm.io. Has a cute cat-like avatar. That it means it must be good, right? They have an online demo. They have a Oasis sign in, and then they have a Get Sandstorm, which means you can easily in one click rent a instance of Sandstorm, or you can go through the online demo, or you can download a copy of it. Okay, what this is different pieces of software brought into one interface. Okay, it has chat built in, file storage, task and project management, and document editing all in one suite, if you will. It's using Rocket Chat, and I almost launched this, but it's not Rocket Chat I want to play with. It's Riot.io is the one I want to play with. So I haven't touched this one yet. I will say also in the Mattermost server, if you want access to the Mattermost server out there, anybody, all you do is ask me. JT in the Mattermost server informed me that Sandstorm is nothing more than this other piece of software. I want to see if I can find it. Oh, TAIG.AO. I can't even pronounce it, but I'm going to make sure this one's in the notes as well. He tried to say that Sandstorm is nothing more than another version of this software, TAIGA.io. Now I'm going to really quick try to make sure this is in the notes as well, which I've already said, but I'm saying it again so I can click that and have time to actually come over here and click that one too. I add it to my Git pocket, then I run an if this then that, which automatically takes it and dumps it to a Google Drive sheet, which I really do like and abuse. I will say that it works really well. So let me also come over here, come down here. Okay, yeah. And this next thing I love the idea, but I haven't had a chance to play with it yet. I will say Control, Shift, and Paste is really useful. I had no idea for years, but that's how you can get unformatted text copied and pasted into the notes, and there it goes in the notes. Okay, now I've never even thought of the idea of this next thing, um, but it's called WTF. I know, I'm sorry. Get started with the WTF dashboard for the terminal. A dashboard for the terminal. I don't know about you, but that almost confused me. Um, I gotta tell you right now, I really wish I could get this thing working on my ARM processors. I haven't had much luck yet. It's because it does require Go and it does require a very specific version of Go, and I've had issues getting it on there. This to me is like almost the perfect kind of layout for a low processor hardware or low RAM hardware. Like where I could take this little tiny board running a NanoPi, um, you know, tiny computer, really low power stuff. And I could see having a screen hanging off this, just feeding in information into this very text friendly display, non-graphical display. It's like a terminal, yet it's colorized. It does have some lines and it does have some information in it. I love the idea of having a dashboard in a low friction place like a terminal. This is again called WTF, the terminal dashboard. I really do encourage people out there, if you do spend a little bit of time in the terminal or you have a second monitor that you can always have things up and running in, I definitely encourage you to check this out. I think it's really cool. I do, and I even have my pocket chip. I tried to get this on because I think this would be perfect for a pocket chip, and I couldn't get it working on ARM anywhere. It definitely made me a little bit upset and jealous because I love the idea of this. Um, Basically, all you got to do is download the standalone compiled binary file, and that's where the first bit of trouble came for me because they have 386 and AMD 64 files, and that's it. So nothing for ARM. But I love the idea of it. It's at WTFUTIL.com, WTFutil.com. Really, really good stuff. Lastly, I just want to throw this out there. I thought this was a really interesting idea. We've had a couple of these pieces of software over the last couple of years where they try to help you with management, wealth management, time management, money management. It's not an easy thing to do because everybody has different needs. This is like trying to offer the perfect home media solution. Some people like to stream, some people have gigantic libraries, some people just care about live sports. We all have different needs. Same thing when it comes to personal finance. Some people literally want to save every penny they can and they don't care about anything else. Some people want to know every second how much money they have available to them. Some people literally just go week to week working off that contract, trying to make, every dime be the most fun they can possibly have. And this looked like a really good piece of software. And I believe it was completely GPL'd, called Homebank, HOMEBANK, homebank.free.fr, France. I just tell people right now, I've seen more than a couple really good pieces of software come out of France in my life. They definitely have an idea of how to make software visually appealing. I don't know what it is they do. I don't know how it is they do, but I can tell you right now, they understand software interfaces. I definitely encourage you, if you're trying to do better management of your finances, this would be really easy. I like the fact that you do not have to give them all your personal information and have it go up to the cloud. You can very easily download this, load up your own file, almost like a QuickBooks. You have your own data store, your own data mart, your own database in the background that you can easily copy from system to system or backup as you see fit. Um, Home Bank, also translated over to 56 languages, which is kind of crazy. It does also have versions for Windows, BSD, Mac OS X, and even Nokia N star star star, the Nokia N910, one of the most ballistic pieces of hardware I ever had in my life. I loved it. Um, it also can import bank account statements in OFX, QFX, QIF, and CSV. So I thought that was pretty cool. You can also import from Intuit, Quicken, Microsoft Money, or other software. Um, I definitely, this is the kind of thing I bring to the show specifically so it's in the notes. So when the next time somebody asks me about, have I ever heard of any kind of software to help manage finances, I'll be able to find it a little bit quicker, a little bit easier. I also will say, um, listener notes, I believe was the domain. Let me see if I got this right. Listen notes. This is also going to be in the notes here. This is a different kind of thing. Okay, this is now tangential. We have Google in the next month or two going to add automatic voice transcription of podcast into text, aka anything said during a podcast has the potential to be indexed and searchable. Okay, that's not something that um, Apple can do that we know of, or Microsoft, or anybody else. So Google will be the first one who will have the ability to search audio in their search engine. Okay, until then, people are required to be able to look into their notes and have notes about everything. So with this piece of software, this website, listener notes, listen notes, sorry, you can just type in whatever you want and it can search for it. Yeah, I've had really good success. Like when I go rock pie, I believe, rock pie, hit enter, and it's like an old it's like a different board being offered by the company, or like there's a brand new processor that's big into the mini computers. It's the RK3399. I can just hit that and I can see, oh, mini PC show number 79 and 70 talked about it, including Linux Lugcast. 114 talked about it. Um, so there you go. This is actually a useful site with Google doing the transcriptions in the near future. I don't know how much longer this site's going to be useful, but if you have a hard time finding things that you want to listen to, I encourage you, think of something that interests you, go to listen notes, type it in and see what kind of podcast can pop up. I will give you guys a quick summarization of my podcast statistics. Um, Ever since I loaded the database on Podcast Addict, it says 473 days worth of podcasts listened to. Uh, in January 2019 so far, 17 days, 5 hours of podcast. Right now, it's Sunday the 20th, 9 o'clock. We're about 2 hours away from the lunar eclipse. I'm going to try to keep the kids up, see if they can see it. So the 20th of January, I've already listened to 17 days and 5 hours worth of podcast. In December, I listened to 24 days, 9 hours. In 2018, it says I listened to 200 days and 7 hours of podcast. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I encourage other people out there, whenever you're listening to a podcast and they say something that you know for a fact is not completely accurate or just sounds stupid, call them out. We have to call out stupid people when they say stupid things on podcasts, including myself. Do not hesitate. I will tell everyone out there, when I am the only person calling up a podcast, when I'm the only person calling out a podcast for saying something wrong or doing something stupid, that makes me a troll. That's not, cool. I'm going to ask people to hold everybody to high levels, make sure that other people are not giving you bad information, other people are not giving you false information, other people are not giving you just flat out wrong things. Um, for instance, as soon as somebody says that they are smart, first thing you as a normal human being should do is become very skeptical. Second thing is when you're listening to a podcast and you're listening to a group of people and everybody sounds like they know more than you, it turns into a what's called a circle jerk, where they purposely just try to outdo one another over and over and over again, thus leaving the listener in a lurch. Uh, and the only people who then listen are people who think that they're as cool as the circle jerkers. Um, I also encourage people, do not inject politics into your podcast. If I wanted to listen to politics in a podcast about technology, I would not be listening. You know what I mean? There are plenty of politics out there. I could listen to anything from NPR, Rutgers, Fox, Bloomberg, Sky News, it keeps going and going and going and going and going, all kinds of stuff. I don't want to listen to a Linux podcast and listen to politics, um, partially because there's no facts in politics. It's all feelings. Okay. Linux and technology should be about facts, not beliefs. Okay. This is not religion. This is technology. Politics are all about beliefs. They might as well be a religion. Um, and anybody out there who thinks I'm wrong, I've already said now 4 times, podcast at linuxfortherestofus.com, or you can send us a voicemail. Do not hesitate to catch up with me. I've also put out my personal information on a great number, many of podcasts. I will keep doing that over and over again because I always feel like there are people out there who need other people to communicate with and to help them. Um, if you out there find yourself in trouble, find yourself in hardship, find yourself downtrodden, find yourself destitute, do not hesitate. Contact me, mail at podness.com. I'm not going to let anybody, uh, suffer needlessly. And if you just need assistance, you just need help for any reason, do not hesitate. Let me know. If you just need to sit down with somebody and vent and have a beer, don't hesitate. Just let me know, and we can definitely take care of that. I want to thank everyone for their support throughout the years. Thanks everyone for their ongoing support. And I want to remind everybody, TechCon Unplugged, September 20th through 22nd. Come out. You can talk to Jeff, Paco, all those guys. Have a hell of a lot of fun speaking with a whole lot of cool people, people who are clearly and most definitely smarter than myself too. Um, should be a really good time, filled with really good people. With that, I want to thank everyone again, and I'll talk to everyone again real soon.